Hey there and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Rimworld Extreme Desert Challenge. In the last episode we constructed ourselves a bigger and better freezer, we also brought in our first and likely only Devil's Strand harvest, and we used drop pods to attack an enemy campsite. And that whole affair did not quite go as planned. Yes, we defeated the enemies and set their base on fire, but Alpaca Silverhand unfortunately did not survive the encounter. To commemorate that experience, we also have some amazing fan art at the end of the video. To say that our good friend Tofu has been busy is probably the understatement of the week, but like I said, more on that at the end of the video. Now, before we jump in, one more thing I forgot to mention in the last episode. The prisoner we made last time is actually related to our own colonist Troy, which is only one more reason why you were overwhelmingly in favor of recruiting her. So that is what we will attempt to do here today, even though, as you can see, Red Hawk's first attempt is not yet met with success. Steak and Jake, meanwhile, have made it to the next morning and can now abandon their campsite and return back home. Unfortunately, they will not be able to take the corpse of Silverhand with them, so we're leaving that one to the scavengers. Everything else we brought will also be brought back, including the fox fur we looted from the base, and luckily, despite the injuries that Alpaca Modified suffered, it will only take our caravan about half a day to make it back. In the steakhouse, meanwhile, it is now time to make some medicine. Our animals have already hauled all the necessary ingredients to the drug lab. However, as you can see here, making medicine actually requires level 4 in both the intellectual and the crafting skill. So we will not be able to use Troy for this, who only has a crafting skill of 2. Instead, the task will once again fall to our jack-of-all-trades Edmo, who goes to work right away. Unfortunately though, things quickly take a turn for the worse. Yes, we have mechanoids dropping in right into the middle of our base. Edmo is just a few meters away from their landing site, not to mention that Steak and Jake are still on the road and won't be able to help. We also have a few animals nearby that could get caught in the crossfire, so let's quickly establish an emergency area here, to which we can then send those that will likely not make it back to the stables in time. With Edmo, meanwhile, the only sensible thing we can do is to turn on the turrets and then retreat. Luckily for us, mechanoids will not immediately go after any human they can reach. Instead, they will be perfectly happy with slowly but steadily destroying our base. And make no mistake about it, our turrets will likely not be able to withstand this for long. However, considering the alternative would be the loss of our colonists, I think that is a small price to pay. As you can see, Edmo's appearance then also only temporarily distracted a single scyther, but perhaps we can use that to our advantage. After all, our enemies seem very focused on the turrets for now, so perhaps Edmo can get a few shots in at the scythers, which are rapidly destroying our defenses here. As melee units, they have an easy time taking out the turrets, while we can only sit and watch. Just in case you're wondering, by the way, Troy and Red Hawk are standing by but not engaging. Neither one of them is really going to be that much of a help in combat anyway, and losing them would definitely hurt our colony a lot. Still, Edmo is actually being pretty successful. He has just killed both scythers in quick succession, and at least one of our turrets is still standing. The question now is, will the rest of our enemies mind if he starts shooting at them? The answer to that can be seen here though, and it appears to be a very clear no. And there we are. I will be perfectly honest, I had not expected things to go this way. But I guess Edmo just saved the steakhouse from destruction. At the very least, he did make sure that the mechanoids would not get too far. Now, this was a mechanoid raid, so cleanup is not going to take long, which is why Edmo will take care of some cooking first, while the rest of the colony already gets some rest. In the evening then, our small caravan returns, and with everyone back home and 2 tough fights behind us, I think our colonists have earned themselves a bit of a break. For that reason, we have nothing special planned on the next day, Just some cooking and repair work for now, while Redhawk starts smelting the remains of the attack for valuable steel. Just in that moment, a combat supplier trade ship passes by, and that gives us the perfect opportunity to catch up on something that I already wanted to do last time, selling our bows. Seriously, we have at least a dozen or so in our storage room, so let's get rid of those alongside a few doses of flake. That's all we can sell for now, and it doesn't make us much, so we won't be able to purchase anything that really helps us at this point. And so the day continues. Edmo is now disassembling the mechanoid corpses while our turret range is slowly but steadily being rebuilt. This does definitely cut deep into our steel supply, but luckily we have already found 2 underground deposits and there are also a few more steel veins left on the map. Alpaca Modified then also makes a full recovery, which is certainly nice to see after the loss we suffered last time, and so the day remains unspectacular. That also does not really change when a pair of travelers pass by who have nothing to trade, and so we rejoin the colony in the afternoon, with Edmo continuing the work he originally intended to do before everything went downhill, making more medicine. In the meantime, we received the news that our prisoner is fully healed as well, so we now only need to convince her to join us, which could admittedly take a while. In the early evening, we then receive a quest, and this one actually includes a familiar name. The Imperial Praetor Synodanus once again asks to be a guest at the steakhouse. You may remember that we did have them stay with us before, back near the beginning of the series, and honestly I see no reason why we shouldn't do that again. Feeding another mouth for 11 days should not be a big challenge at this point, and if we can construct a nice enough room, Synodanus' mood should also not become an issue. Additionally, this would also be a great way to further boost Steak's honor, although we already have another quest lined up that will hopefully take him to the rank of knight. But more on that later. For now, we'll keep this one in mind. After a few more hours of hard work, most of our turrets are already back up and running. Jake and Steak are both collecting some valuable construction experience in the process, and Edmo is also pumping out medicine non-stop. He finishes that task shortly after midnight, with the rest of the steakhouse already fast asleep, and so we can now skip ahead to the next morning. After another unsuccessful prisoner recruitment attempt, it is now time to acquire more components, because rebuilding the turrets has cost us dearly in that regard. Luckily, we have an old piece of ship junk lying around, and Redhawk has also discovered a small area of compacted machinery, so the map is not quite depleted just yet, although we're getting pretty close. Still, in the late afternoon, all turrets have been rebuilt and Troy is making more flake, so for the most part it's business as usual around the steakhouse. And that also doesn't change on the following morning either, as our colonists are doing a nice big round of cleanup. Small piles of resources are being merged together in the storage room, sand and dirt is being swept away, and as the day progresses, the steakhouse is starting to look just a little bit cleaner. Just in time for things to potentially get messy again, as a trio of Thrumbos appears on the scene and invites us to go on another hunting trip. Now, of course, we won't be able to carve through them like we did with the chickens a while back, but we do have all of our turrets back up and running, which should definitely make things easier. And so, with the sun slowly setting across the desert, Steak has grabbed the bolt-action hunting rifle and is just about to fire, as we get a rather untimely visit from a small group of traders. And they have picked a bad time to appear, as we are definitely not stopping the hunt just because of them. Let's hope they brought some firearms. Steak's shot meanwhile connects, and luckily just one of the Thrumbos goes into manhunter mode, which should make it rather easy for us to take it out with the combined firepower of our turrets and 3 colonists. And indeed, that was nice and easy and also makes the job a little easier for the remaining 2, although before things get worse, let's quickly see if the 2 traders have anything of value for us. Who knows, it might be the last time they make any sort of deal. Apart from some medicine and meals, however, they don't have anything on them, so we can sell our flake, at least as much as they're able to pay for, and then quickly send Redhawk back into the base. Steak, meanwhile, has successfully triggered the other 2 thrombos, and, well, our visitors do not really seem to understand the situation they're in. They are now charging straight at the animals, with expected results, I think. And yes, we are losing some faction relation here, but I think we can afford that. Worst case scenario, we simply gift a few thrombohorns to their home base, and that should make up for it. Now, both animals have been weakened a bit, but of course they are in no real danger. That changes now though, as they're running into our kill box. Just like last time, we get all of our colonists out of danger before the thrombos can attack them, and to avoid further losses on the turret side, we also shut those off before another one explodes. That causes the animals to briefly lose interest and move away from the firing range, the perfect opportunity for us to launch another volley. Interestingly enough, the thrombo in the back does not even get to join in the attack. It goes down due to blood loss, and Jake can quickly put it out of its misery. Eventually then, thrombo number 3 is lured back into our trap as well. Another blast of turret fire finds its target, and a few moments later another corpse is hauled back into the freezer. Following that, we have a bit of a surprise waiting for us, because all of a sudden, colonist Alistair can walk again, several days before he was scheduled to recover. So, without that being the plan for today, our colony has just gained another productive member, as you can see here, one that is very skilled in mining and construction. His traits, on the other hand, are not really ideal. Undergrounder is okay, I guess, but abrasive could be an issue, especially since he shows some promise in the social skill. For now though, I think we have enough mining and construction jobs to keep Alistair and the rest of the colony busy. The first one is actually up next here, as we can make our prison a tiny bit nicer. Having a table to eat, a light and some basic flooring will improve the mood of our inmate, and that in turn improves our chances of recruiting her, so in the end everyone wins. With Alistair properly joining the colony, it is also high time that we give him a bedroom, and for this purpose we can simply extend our current design. This will temporarily break up the throne room, and Steak won't be happy about it, but our builders are doing their best to work quickly, and so right around bedtime we not only learn that Labradonusa is pregnant once again, but we also have a more or less fully functional new bedroom. On the next morning, we are putting down marble tiles everywhere to give Alistair the same level of luxury that everyone else is already enjoying. Admo has also made a cowboy hat just for our latest recruit, so Alistair can now put that on to be a little more protected against the heat of the extreme desert. Alistair's room, meanwhile, is coming along nicely. He now also has an end table and a dresser, and he can actually give his new home his very own finishing touch, together with Steak and Jake, of course. A small statue to beauty up the place, and I would say we're done for now. During all the building, I kind of forgot about the dead bodies of our 2 visitors from earlier though. Their equipment is still lying around here in the sand, and we should get that inside as soon as possible. And yes, we are getting back all the flake we sold them earlier, but can we really consider it stealing if they ran headfirst into their demise? Speaking of flake, just as an eclipse hits the desert, we can see Steak construct a few more hydroponics basins. Alistair has been busy mining, and we can use these to grow more psychoid leaves and increase our flake production. Now, skipping ahead to the next morning, things are once again about to get interesting. You can see that our colonists are getting ready for combat, and that is because we still have this quest right here to take care of. To attack an enemy pirate camp, we need to select 4 of our colonists, who will in just a moment be picked up by an Imperial shuttle. In return, we want to receive some honor to advance Steak to the rank of knight, so let's accept the quest and select our squad. Here's the shuttle waiting for its passengers, and those will be Steak, Admo, Jake, and yes, Alistair as well, even though he is pretty much useless in a fight. We can't take any items with us, so we'll have to make do with what we find at the enemy camp, and that is why Alistair is with us, as I expect a decent amount of mining and or construction work to be necessary. And here we are. After a short flight, we have arrived at the mission site, and the first thing we notice is that the map is absolutely huge. The enemy camp, meanwhile, is located near the center of the map. Nothing special here, no turrets or any other special defenses, but still we are outnumbered, so we don't want to simply waltz in there. Instead, we can start deconstructing some of the conveniently placed steel ruins around the map, and all 4 of our colonists here are talented construction workers, so this should not take them too long. The goal is to obtain enough steel to build a small defensive structure and some traps. The latter will be a core part of our strategy and should ensure that we win this fight with minimal effort. As you can see, after just a few hours we have assembled a respectable amount of resources, so let's go to work. The design here is basically a miniature kill box without turrets or any other sort of firing range, just a simple corridor that we will equip with a good amount of deadfall traps, and that should hopefully be enough to deal a hefty blow to the pirates. While the construction is still ongoing and we are approaching nighttime, we receive some great news from back home. Troy has finished his research of the multi-analyzer. Unfortunately, we cannot construct the device just yet, as all of our builders are out here fighting pirates, and that is a bit of a shame because I really would have liked to get started on fabrication next, which will finally allow us to make our own components. Since that is blocked for the time being, however, let's have him research the moisture pump instead. That will be useful as well, as it allows us to finally remove all the soft sand around the base and upgrade some of our wooden structures with more sturdy stone constructions. Back at the mission site, meanwhile, our colonists are taking a brief nap in the sand, but not for long. In the early morning hours, the eclipse is ending, and shortly after we can already watch the 4 of them acquire more steel. Shortly after, the final trap is being put into place, and with that we are ready for the attack. Now, the plan is quite simple. Edmo has a shield belt and his hand talon and will wait in the doorway. Stake will provide fire support. Alistair will stay in the back, incendiary launcher equipped, but told not to fire, of course, and Jake will draw out the enemies. While he starts shooting at the pirates' defenses, we then receive some potentially concerning news, as our enemies have called in reinforcements. However, they will take 3 days to get here, and I don't plan on staying that long. A few seconds later, the combined enemy forces march out of their base and Jake needs to retreat, and from here on out I think we can simply sit back, watch and enjoy the show. Alright, that went about as smooth as I had expected. The traps did all of the work and we can now finish off the remaining stragglers before they flee. And no, to complete the quest that is absolutely unnecessary, but you know, I think our colonists have earned the opportunity to blow off some steam. Eventually then the last pirate falls and we can accept our quest reward. A nice pile of royal honor will go to Stake, and with that he is now eligible for knighthood. That triggers another quest, during which we will celebrate his knight ceremony. A few things need to be prepared for that, but I'm pretty sure we'll get that done in the next episode. Now, while our fearless combatants grab a meal and put out the fires the pirates have set, Stake investigates the enemy base, and it's only steel beds as far as his eyes can see. A bit disappointing, yes, but steel is steel and we need a lot of it, so for the next few hours our colonists spend their time dismantling everything that looks remotely useful, and eventually we can have them return to the shuttle. Next to all the steel, which amounts to well over 1,000 units, so this quest was definitely worth it, we can also take everything else of value from the pirate camp, mostly food, medicine, some drugs, weapons and a single fire foam popper. The shuttle can carry all of that and more, and luckily for us the transfer of colonists and items back to the shuttle happens instantly, so there is no need to carry everything. And with that, our heroes arrive back home just a short moment later. Their mood could certainly be better after spending a night out in the desert without beds, and especially Stake's psychic harmonizer is a bit of a problem now, as it further decreases the mood of everyone around him. But the most important thing is that we made it back, and apart from a few bruises on Edmo, no one took any damage. And I think that is a good high note to end today's episode on. The timer for the hosting Cynodanis quest is also ticking down, so let me know if you think we should take that as well and have Cynodanis participate in Stake's upcoming night ceremony. To wrap things up, I promised you some fan art, and like I said, Tofu has been busy. We are starting things off with a pair of images that refer back to episode 30, during which Edmo took out a mechanoid mortar with his hand talon all by himself. And that hand talon is also featured prominently on this next illustration here, an entirely different art style showing Edmo chase down the chickens from the last episode. You might remember how that encounter went. And we have one more featuring Edmo and his interesting choice of weapons. This one tells the story of last episode's prison break, or rather the attempt of one, which was very promptly and very violently stopped by a hand talon to the face. My personal favorite, however, is this one, showing the very sad scene from the end of the last episode, and I don't think I have to say much about it. I am still completely blown away by how well it captures Jake's, Stake's, and even Alpaca Modified's emotion, and I have actually set this one as my new desktop background, perhaps to remind me not to foolishly play around with the lives of our animals again anytime soon. So Tofu, I have said it before, I'll say it again, thank you so much for these contributions. I think it's safe to say that your artwork has become a bit of a part of this series, and I would be more than just happy to see that trend continue. With that being said, let's make the cut for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.